Good morning. I wanted to share a quick video with you guys this morning on something that I actually was taught by a Facebook ad. It was by a guy named Tom Billahue, and he has this thing called Impact Theory, and he's trying to sell this Impact Theory University. And to be honest with you, I'm going to check it out because I'm intrigued. But here was the quote that I've thought about over and over and over since I heard it. In fact, I rewinded it like twice just to make sure I picked it up because I thought it was profound. And I invite you to think about the same concepts. But it says this, it says, argue for your limitations and they are yours. The scariest part about excuses is that they are often valid. But now what? Just in case you didn't pick that up, let me say it again. Argue for your limitations and they are yours. The scariest part about excuses is that they are often valid. But now what? So let's dissect this because, like I said, my mind's been kind of thinking about this concept for a little while now, and I think this is something that human beings in general, most people struggle with because we spend a lot of our time arguing about our limitations, right? And let me first say there are certain limitations that are real. They just are. For instance, nobody on this planet has, and I don't believe anyone on this planet ever will, bench press 10,000 pounds. But I don't think that's what he's trying to talk about. I think what he's trying to talk about is that whoever has the biggest bench press right now, somebody out there could beat it if they wouldn't argue for the limitations, but rather argue for the reasons that it's conquerable. And I think we're seeing that as society. 100 years ago, nobody had broken the 4-minute mile, and now there's kids in high school doing it because somebody gave them permission to believe that it was possible. And we all do that to each other. We all give each other permission to succeed or argue with each other about our limitations. And the circle of friends that we are in is doing one of those two things all the time in different areas of our life. And so as we talk about limitations, there are self-imposed limitations and there are external environment limitations, right? Self-imposed meaning that they are limitations of our mind, self-limiting beliefs. And then there's external ones that are like kind of predetermined, right? Like DNA has already determined skin color or height or certain aspects of life. You can't change the weather. You can't change the world economy. But what you can do is take what you were given and make the most of it. What you can do is change your own economy by changing you and by changing whether you are dwelling on limitations and self-limiting beliefs or breaking through those self-limiting beliefs and teaching yourself that there is more, that you can accomplish more, that you can do just a little bit better. Here's the crazy part, and here's what made me rewind and re-watch this a couple of times. He said, the scariest thing about excuses is that they are often valid. And I thought that was very profound because how many of us genuinely have excuses? All of us, right? So what's an excuse? An excuse, and I'm not looking this up in the dictionary, but I'm just rambling, so if I'm wrong, teach me. But to me, an excuse is whenever we are excusing ourselves from something. And if we are excusing ourselves from accountability for our actions, or from our results, or from our emotional state or behaviors, then we have to look at cause and effect and say, well, why? Why are we allowing those excuses in our lives? And are we giving validation to them? Because some people, even though no one could bench 10,000 pounds, some people aren't even working on their own, like what they could do. Some people aren't working on the limitations that are self-imposed because they're so focused on the limitations that are outside of their control. They're focused on the weather. They're focused on the world economy. They're focused on the coronavirus or whatever that might be. And the challenging part is that if we use those excuses and excuse ourselves from accountability, then we aren't focused on what we can do. And instead of developing a can't plan, which is all the reasons you can't, all the reasons for not doing well, we would all do well to develop a can plan and find all the reasons we can do well. So now what? I suppose that each one of us is at a different place in life. And each one of us is entitled to have different priorities in our lives and to be trying and working on whatever it is that's important to us. But I would argue that too many people aren't being intentional about that. We're drifting through life, just hoping it turns out good. But wherever attention goes, energy flows. Wherever we put our resources, wherever we put our time and our mental energy and our focus and our money and our relationships and whatever resources you may have at your disposal, wherever you're putting those things is growing. And some people are growing in their health. Some people are growing in their testimony of the gospel. Some people are growing in their ability to play video games. Like they're getting really, really good at them. And that's the scary thing, is that are we being intentional about our growth? Are we cutting through those self-limiting beliefs and working on the areas of our life that actually matter or that our future self would thank us for? Or are we drifting and getting really, really good at things that our future self would tell us and give us a warning, hey, don't spend your time, don't spend your energy, don't spend your money in that area because it leads to heartache and it leads to defeat and failure. As a living, breathing organism, we need to grow. We all grow in one area or another. I suppose the challenge is to determine what area of our lives we want to grow in and become intentional about that. And to not argue for our limitations, not argue for the reasons that it's not possible and that we can't, but argue for the reasons that it is possible and develop a can plan. Hope those words help, and I'd love your feedback. Thanks. I'm out.